free college football picks. This is action here for Saturday, November the 25th. Tony T with our college football pick show here for Saturday's action. We have all 49 games. Before we get into just a couple things, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have free college football picks updated all season long and free picks every day from all the major sports. Making it a great time to subscribe. And also, if you would support our channel with a like, a thumbs up, we greatly appreciate it. Then visit our site, Tony'sPicks.com. We are a multi-capper site showcasing top performers in our industry. Click the links to the hot cappers, get signed up to our long-term passes. Hot cappers like Joseph Schultz for the year. Hollywood Sam's been on fire. Chauncey, Daniel Walsh took the last 30 days. Sam, Sean Dinwiddie up there. Last 7 days, it's been Sam, Martini, Dinwiddie. Of course, yesterday we're showing some great performances from Sam, Crawford, Tiffany, and Mindy hitting the leaderboard. Click the links, get signed up. You'll also find our latest premium picks here in the center of the page, as well as our best bet tabs. Click that and get on board with our best bets for the day. Each capper can release one per sport. Of course, we're in as well with our multi-packs as well, so get on board and get signed up. You may also purchase our plays a la carte from the pick ticker. There you'll find on the pick ticker team versus team information. And you can save 20% off all premium pick packages. When you use that promo code TonyT at checkout, you can access our page by clicking the link in the description. Click the All Cappers tab, get signed up. Always love hearing from you guys, so you can post your picks in the comments. We're looking for cappers, so apply on that home page. All right, let's go ahead and let's get this one started. Miami, Ohio, and Ball State college football pick here for Saturday. All right, Miami, Ohio here improved to 9-2 with their 23-10 home victory to Buffalo. Redhawks rushed for 180 yards on 36 attempts. They allowed 131 yards rushing to the Bulls with 147 yards passing on 17 attempts. Miami, Ohio had a +2 turnover margin. Avion Smith completed 9 of 16 passes for 146 yards with 9.1 yards per pass attempt. He rushed for 60 yards. Ball State 4-7 after their 34-3 home victory to Kent. Cardinals rushed for 300 yards on 52 carries. They held the Golden Flashes to 1.1 yards per rush with 68 passing yards on 22 attempts. Kyle Kelly, 4 of 14 passes for 71 yards and 5.1 yards per pass attempt. Miami, Ohio defensively held MAC opponents to just 10 points and 260 yards a game. Ball State offensively putting up only 20 points a game against the conference. The Redhawks have won and covered 5 of 6 on the road. Play here, Miami, Ohio, -6.5. Pittsburgh and Duke college football pick here for Saturday. All right, Pittsburgh improved to 3-8 with their 24-16 home victory to Boston College. Panthers rushed for 197 yards on 33 carries. They surrendered 154 yards rushing to the Eagles with 171 passing yards on 25 attempts. Pittsburgh had a +2 turnover margin. Nate Yarnell completed 11 of 19 passes for 207 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 10.9 yards per pass attempt and a rushing touchdown. Duke fell to 6-5, a 30-27 road defeat in Virginia. Blue Devils rushed for 159 yards on 28 carries. They surrendered 170 yards rushing to the Cavaliers with 278 passing yards on 30 attempts. Duke had a -2 turnover margin. Henry Bellin is questionable with an upper body injury. Third string Grayson Loftus, 26 of 35 passing for 278 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. He averaged 6.2 yards per pass attempt. Pittsburgh quarterback change positive. Duke dealing with quarterback issues. The Blue Devils in their past 3 games are allowing 33 points and 463 yards a game. They have lost and failed to cover 5 of 7. Play here, Pittsburgh +6.5. Northern Illinois and Kent college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Northern Illinois improved to 5-6 with their 24-0 home victory to Western Michigan. The Huskies rushed for 287 yards on 50 carries. They held the Broncos to 1.3 yards per rush with 182 passing yards on 31 attempts. Rocky Lombardi completed 9 of 17 passes for 92 yards. He averaged 5.4 yards per pass attempt. Kent drops to 1-10, a 34-3 road defeat to Ball State. Golden Flashes rushed for 29 yards on 26 carries. They allowed 300 yards rushing to the Cardinals with 88 yards passing on 17 attempts. Tommy Latowski is questionable leaving due to an injury in the second quarter. He was ineffective. Devin Cargman hit 5 of 12 passes for 52 yards with 4.3 yards per pass attempt. Northern Illinois successfully ran heavy last week. They need a win for bowl eligibility. NIU runs for 5 yards a carry, and the Golden Flash are giving up 4.5 yards a carry, and that was exploited last week on the ground last week. Kent, poor offensively in the MAC, averaging just 248 yards a game. Expect a lot of running from Northern Illinois here, like we saw last week. Play here Northern Illinois and Kent under 45. Connecticut and Massachusetts college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Connecticut is 2-9 with their 31-3 home victory at FCS Sacred Heart. Huskies sport the 112th ranked offense, averaging 318 yards a game. They have struggled at the quarterback position with accuracy and a lack of pass efficiency. But UConn, they're 112th in the nation in defense, allowing 419 yards a game. Quarterback DeQuan Roberson completing 58% of his passes with 6.1 yards per pass attempt. UMass fell to 3-8, a 49-25 road defeat to Liberty. Minutemen rushed for 98 yards on 21 attempts. They allowed 324 yards rushing to the Flames with 225 passing yards on 22 attempts. Tayson Fominanchan, 22 of 38 passing for 239 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 6.3 yards per pass attempt. Both defense in poor form. Over the past 3 games, Minutemen are giving up 442 yards and 42 points a game. The Huskies over this period, they're giving up 35 points and 461 yards a game. Play here will be UConn UMass over 50.5. Kentucky and Louisville college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Kentucky here fell to 6-5 with their 17-14 road defeat to South Carolina. Wildcats rushed for 123 yards on 26 attempts. They held the Gamecocks to under 2 yards per carry with 207 passing yards on 27 attempts. Kentucky had a -3 turnover margin. Devin Leary completed 17 of 34 passes for 171 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 5 yards per pass attempt. Louisville improved to 10-1, a 38-31 road win at Miami. Cardinals rushed for 162 yards on 34 carries. They surrendered 159 yards rushing to the Hurricanes with 327 passing yards on 39 attempts. Jack Plummer, 24 of 37 passing for 308 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 8.3 yards per pass attempt. The Wildcats have a good running game, averaging 5.1 yards a carry. Past 3 games, Kentucky holding teams at 23 points and 307 yards a game. Play here Kentucky at +7. Houston and UCF college football pick. This one is on Saturday. Houston fell to 4-7 with their 43-30 home defeat to Oklahoma State. Cougars rushed for 130 yards on 28 carries. They allowed 153 yards rushing to the Cowboys with 348 yards passing on 43 attempts. Donovan Smith, 17 of 29 passing for 235 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 8.1 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 63 yards and a touchdown. UCF dropped to 5-6, a 24-23 road defeat to Texas Tech. Knights rushed for 238 yards on 40 carries. They allowed 192 yards rushing to the Red Raiders with 256 passing yards on 35 attempts. John Rice Plumlee, 16 of 32 passing for 249 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 7.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 84 yards. UCF at home is holding opponents at 20 points per game. Houston offense has struggled in the Big 12 play. Cougars have been inefficient in the passing game. The Knights hold teams to 57% completion rate. They run at high volume, which will run clock. Play here will be Houston UCF under 60.5. Texas A&M and LSU college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Texas A&M improved to 7-4 with their 38-10 home victory at FCS Abilene Christian. Aggies sit 51st in total offense with the run game generating 5.1 yards a carry. Quarterback Max Johnson questionable with an injury, but Jalen Henderson completed 16 of 23 passes for 260 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He saw extended work the prior week, hitting 58% of his passes, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. He averaged 7.9 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 2 touchdowns. LSU 8-3 after their 56-14 home victory to Georgia State. Tigers rushed for 169 yards on 23 carries. They surrendered 148 rushing yards to the Panthers with 217 passing yards on 33 attempts. Jane Daniels, 25 of 30 passing for 413 yards and 6 touchdowns. He averaged 13.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. LSU, 106th in the nation in total defense by allowing 411 yards a game. They are giving up 4.8 yards per rush and big plays in the passing game. The Aggies are 6th in total defense by giving up 286 yards a game. Texas A&M is holding opponents at 3.1 yards per rush and 57% completion rate. Their defensive form has been good in conference play. Play here Texas A&M plus the 10.5. Indiana and Purdue college football pick. This one here Saturday. All right, Indiana fell to 3-8 with their 24-21 home defeat to Michigan State. Hoosiers rushed for 210 yards on 46 attempts. They held the Spartans at 2.3 yards per rush with 245 yards passing on 41 attempts. Brendan Sorsby, 19 of 34 passing for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 5.6 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 59 yards. Purdue drops to 3-8 after their 23-15 road defeat to Northwestern. Boilermakers rushed for 303 yards on 54 carries. They allowed 2.9 yards per rush to the Wildcats with 230 passing yards on 25 attempts. Purdue had a -3 turnover margin. Hudson Card is questionable as he missed the game. He is completing 58% of his passes with 6.4 yards per pass attempt. Bennett Meredith, 5 of 7 for 36 yards last week. Ryan Brown also saw work, and the true freshman went 12 of 16 for 104 yards, 2 interceptions. He averaged 6.5 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 85 yards. Purdue quarterback situation, the concern. Boilermakers have struggled with quarterback accuracy, passing efficiency. Indiana is 104th ranked offense in college football. They're running for just 3.3 yards a carry. And again, accuracy and passing efficiency issue with this Indiana offense. Play here Indiana, Purdue under 50. Middle Tennessee State and Sam Houston State college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Middle Tennessee State improved to 4-7 with their 34-30 home victory to UTEP. Blue Raiders rushed for 185 yards on 35 carries. They held the Miners to 2.9 yards per rush with 364 yards passing on 41 attempts. Middle Tennessee State had a +2 turnover margin. Nicholas Fatadio, 18 of 35 passing for 242 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 6.9 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 92 yards. Sam Houston State moves to 2-9, a 28-23 road defeat to Western Kentucky. Bearcats rushed for 86 yards on 31 carries. They limited the Hilltoppers to 2.3 yards a carry on the ground with 392 yards passing on 41 attempts. Sam Houston State had 3 turnovers and took 5 away from the Hilltoppers. Keegan Shoemaker hit 25 of 45 passing for 271 yards and 2 interceptions. He averaged 6 yards per pass attempt. Sam Houston State is 119th in total offense, averaging 314 yards a game. They rush for 2.9 yards a carry and are inefficient in the passing game. Blue Raiders defensive form good as in their past 3 games, allowing 16 points a game. Play here Middle Tennessee State and Sam Houston State under 49. Ohio State and Michigan college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Ohio State's 11-0 after a 37-3 home victory to Minnesota. Buckeyes rushed for 215 yards on 35 carries. They allowed 70 rushing yards to the Golden Gophers with 89 passing yards on 19 attempts. Ohio State had a +2 turnover margin. Kyle McCord, 20 of 30 passing for 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 7.1 yards per pass attempt. Michigan 11-0 after their 31-24 road win at Maryland. Wolverines rushed for 150 yards on 45 carries. They held the Terrapins at 15 rushing yards with 247 passing on 31 attempts. Michigan had a +2 turnover margin. J.J. McCarthy, 12 of 23 passing for 141 yards and an interception. He averaged just 6.1 yards per pass attempt. Both defenses elite. The Wolverines did allow 247 passing yards last week to Maryland. McCarthy's past 2 performances, the concern here, he's the quarterback. Harbaugh was not on the sideline. Maybe that's impacting quarterback performance here. So I think there's an edge here on Ohio State at +3.5. Navy and SMU college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. Navy improved to 5-5 with that 10-0 home victory to East Carolina. Midshipmen rushed for 174 yards on 50 carries. They allowed 1.5 yards per rush to the Pirates with 155 passing yards on 38 attempts. Navy had a +2 turnover margin. Xavier Arline completed 10 of 11 passes for 102 yards, 9.3 yards per pass attempt. He rushed for 68 yards. SMU 9-2 after their 38-34 road win at Memphis. Mustangs rushed for 158 yards on 42 carries. They held the Tigers to 3 yards per rush with 402 passing yards on 51 attempts. Preston Stone 15 of 23 passing for 286 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 12.4 yards per pass attempt and rushed for a touchdown. Mustangs sit 14th in total defenses. They allow only 3.2 yards per rush. The Midshipmen have struggled with efficiency in the passing game. SMU 10th in total offense, gaining 471 yards a game. They have averaged 44 points and 486 yards per game in the AAC. Navy's pass defense is a concern here as they allow 66% completion rate. Sitting 93rd in college football. Player will be on SMU at -20. Troy and Southern Miss college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Troy improved to 9-2 with their 31-24 home victory to Louisiana. Trojans rushed for 148 yards on 36 attempts. They allowed 2.6 yards per rush to the Raging Cajuns with 282 passing yards on 39 attempts. Gunnar Watson 17 of 31 passing for 199 yards, 3 touchdowns. He averaged 6.4 yards per pass attempt. Southern Miss fell to 3-8. A 41-20 road defeat at Mississippi State. Golden Eagles rushed for 105 yards on 41 attempts. They allowed 238 yards rushing to the Bulldogs with 144 passing yards on 27 attempts. Southern Miss had a -2 turnover margin. Billy Wiles hit 9 of 16 passes for 89 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 5.6 yards per pass attempt. Trojans have defended well, holding Sun Belt teams at 12.4 yards a game. Southern Miss struggled with inaccurate quarterback play and an inefficient passing game. Golden Eagles defensively limit quarterbacks to 57% completion rate. The player will be Troy and Southern Miss under 48. FAU and Rice college football pick. This one here on Saturday. FAU fell to 5-7 with a 24-8 home defeat to Tulane. FAU Owls rushed for 32 yards on 30 carries. They held the Green Wave to 2.7 yards per carry with 252 passing yards on 29 attempts. Daniel Richardson completed 24 of 31 passing for 202 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 6.5 yards per pass attempt and was sacked 5 times. Rice improved to 5-6, a 28-7 road win at Charlotte. Rice Owls rushed for 240 yards on 42 carries. They held the 49ers to 2.8 yards per rush with 74 passing yards on 25 attempts. Rice survived a -3 turnover margin. JT Daniels questionable with a concussion and has missed the past 2 games. AJ Padgett 13 of 21 passing for 140 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 6.7 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 2 touchdowns. FAU, poor offensive team, rushing for 3.6 yards a carry with an inefficient passing game. Rice limits opposing quarterbacks to 58% completion rate. Past 3 games, FAU averaging 19 points and 296 yards a game. FAU has averaged 7.5 points in their past 2 games. Play here will be on FAU and Rice under 48.5. Georgia State and Old Dominion college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Georgia State fell to 6-5 with their 56-14 road defeat to LSU. Panthers rushed for 148 yards on 31 carries. They allowed 169 yards rushing to the Tigers with 413 passing yards on 30 attempts. Darren Granger completed 23 of 29 passes for 179 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6.2 yards per pass attempt. Old Dominion improved to 5-6 after their 20-17 road win at Georgia Southern. Monarchs rushed for 134 yards on 35 carries. They allowed 119 yards rushing to the Eagles with 235 passing yards on 35 attempts. Grant Wilson, 17 of 27 passing for 182 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6.7 yards per pass attempt. Old Dominion is poor with quarterback accuracy and allowing 4.7 sacks a game. The Panthers are a high-volume running team that averages 4.6 yards a carry. They hold opponents to only 3.7 yards per rush. Past 3 games, ODU averaging 18 points a game. Player Old Dominion +3. Wake Forest and Syracuse college football pick. This one here Saturday. Wake Forest fell to 4-7 with their 45-7 road defeat to Notre Dame. Demon Deacons rushed for 134 yards on 36 carries. They allowed 137 yards rushing to the Fighting Irish with 313 passing yards on 34 attempts. Michael Kern, 11 of 20 passing for 81 yards with 4.1 yards per pass attempt. Syracuse drops to 5-6, a 31-22 road defeat to Georgia Tech. Orange rushed for 206 yards on 42 carries. They surrendered 206 yards rushing to the Yellow Jackets with 138 passing yards on 20 attempts. Dan Villari, 14 of 14 passing for 59 yards. Villari is a tight end who converted to quarterback, taking over for an ineffective quarterback rotation they've had. Demon Deacons past 3 games averaging 11 points and 265 yards a game. Orange quarterback situation bad right now, looking for a former tight end under center here. The player will be Wake Forest and Syracuse under 44. Tulsa and East Carolina college football pick. This one here Saturday. Tulsa fell to 3-8 with their 35-28 home defeat to North Texas. Mean Green rushed for 299 yards on 47 carries. They surrendered 183 yards rushing to the Golden Hurricane with 251 passing yards on 34 attempts. Cardell Williams doubtful in the game. Kirk Francis completed 17 of 34 passes for 251 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 7.4 yards per pass attempt. East Carolina drops at 2-9, a 10-zip road defeat to Navy. Pirates rushed for 34 yards on 22 carries. They surrendered 174 yards rushing to the midshipmen with 102 passing yards on 11 attempts. ECU had a -2 turnover margin. Alex Finn, 24 of 38 passing for 155 yards and 2 interceptions. He averaged 4.1 yards per pass attempt. East Carolina offense struggled by averaging nearly 11 points over their past 3 games. They are defending, limiting opponents to 10 points per game in that span. Tulsa on the road is putting up just 16 points a game. Both teams have poor quarterback accuracy. The Pirates are rushing for only 3.3 yards a carry. The play here, Tulsa and East Carolina under 44.5. UAB and North Texas college football pick. This one here on Saturday. UAB improved to 4-7 with their 34-24 home victory to Temple. Blazers rushed for 259 yards on 46 attempts. They held the Owls to 2.5 yards a carry with 323 yards passing on 46 attempts. UAB had a +2 turnover margin. Jacob Zeno, 20 of 28 passing for 246 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 8.8 yards per pass attempt. North Texas is 4-7 after their 35-28 road victory at Tulsa. Mean Green rushed for 299 yards on 47 attempts. They allowed 183 yards rushing to the Golden Hurricane with 251 passing yards on 34 attempts. Chandler Rogers hit 19 of 31 passing for 294 yards and 3 touchdowns. He rushed for 56 yards and a touchdown. Mean Green, 133rd in total defense by allowing 472 yards a game with 5.5 yards per rush. They are giving up big plays in the passing game. UAB passes with high volume, and they get accurate quarterback play with 72% completion rate. Blazers get more accurate quarterback play of these two teams. North Texas has seen scoring down over the past 3 games. Play here UAB at +3. Colorado and Utah college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, Colorado fell to 4-7, a 56-14 road defeat to Washington State. Buffs rushed for 91 yards on 41 carries. They allowed 127 yards rushing to the Cougars with 342 yards passing on 33 attempts. Shedeur Sanders, questionable with an injury. Kind of reading the tea leaves, some are speculating even doubtful. Sanders completed 6 of 10 passes for 86 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 8.6 yards per pass attempt. Colorado allowed 5 sacks in the game. The backups were ineffective at quarterback. Utah drops a 7-4, a 42-18 road defeat at Arizona. Utes rushed for 118 yards on 37 carries. They allowed 118 yards rushing to the Wildcats with 325 passing yards on 33 attempts. Utah had a -2 turnover margin. Bryson Barnes, 31 of 53 passing for 320 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 6 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 44 yards. Colorado quarterback situation the concern. The backups look bad. Utah defenses perform well at home, allowing less than 13 points a game. Back-to-back road games for the Buffs here. On the road, Colorado's giving up 482 yards a game. Play here, Utah -22. Monroe in Louisiana, college football pick this one here Saturday. Monroe found a 2-9 with their 35-3 road defeat to Ole Miss. Warhawks rushed for 192 yards on 46 attempts. They allowed 127 yards rushing to the Rebels with 371 passing yards on 36 attempts. Jairo Wright completed 7 of 19 passes for 56 yards and an interception. He averaged 2.9 yards per pass attempt. Louisiana drops to 5-6, a 31-24 road defeat to Troy. Ragin' Cajuns rushed for 66 yards on 25 carries. They allowed 148 yards rushing to the Trojans with 219 passing yards on 32 attempts. Ben Woodridge is doubtful with a foot injury and missed the past 8 games. Zion Chris missed the game due to injury. Chandler Fields hit 29 of 39 passes for 282 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 7.2 yards per pass attempt. Monroe in the Sun Belt allows 37 points and 465 yards a game. Louisiana defense the past 3 games giving up 34 points and 396 yards a game. Raging Cajuns are putting up 33 points and 411 yards per game at home. Player Monroe in Louisiana over 52. San Jose State and UNLV college football pick this one here Saturday. San Jose State improved to 6-5 with their 24-13 home victory to San Diego State. Spartans rushed for 181 yards on 29 carries. They allowed 183 yards rushing to the Aztecs with 117 passing yards on 24 attempts. Javon Cordero, 15 of 20 passing for 174 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 8.7 yards per pass attempt. UNLV improves to 9-2, a 31-27 road victory to the Air Force. Rebels rushed for 114 yards on 33 carries. They allowed 344 yards rushing to the Falcons with 60 passing yards on 9 attempts. Jade Maiava, 15 of 29 passing for 339 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. He averaged 11.7 yards per pass attempt. San Jose State is journeying 5.5 yards a carry on the ground. They've been efficient in the passing game. They are in the better defensive form as in their past 3 games, allowing 10 points and 269 yards a game. UNLV is allowing big plays in the passing game. Play here San Jose State +3. Western Kentucky and FIU college football pick this one here on Saturday. Western Kentucky improved to 6-5 with their 28-23 home victory to Sam Houston State. Hilltoppers rushed for 73 yards on 31 carries. They allowed 86 rushing yards to the Bearcats with 271 passing yards on 45 attempts. WKU had a -2 turnover margin. Austin Reed, 28 of 41 passing for 392 yards with 3 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He also had a lost fumble. He averaged 9.6 yards per pass attempt. FIU is 4-7 with their 44-20 road defeat to Arkansas. Golden Panthers rushed for 76 yards on 23 carries. They allowed 323 yards rushing to the Razorbacks with 187 passing yards on 29 attempts. FIU had a -2 turnover margin. Keon Jenkins hit on 21 of 36 passing for 265 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 7.4 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. FIU has struggled offensively in Conference USA by averaging 15 points and 287 yards a game. On defense, they're allowing Conference USA opponents 33 points and 436 yards a game. FIU rushing for only 2.9 yards a carry, and they struggle with quarterback accuracy. Player will be Western Kentucky at -10. Alabama and Auburn college football pick for Saturday. All right, we've got Alabama improving to 10-1 with that 56-10 home victory to FCS Chattanooga. Crimson Tide has the 50th ranked offense by averaging 405 yards a game. They rush for 4.5 yards a carry and are efficient in the passing game. Jalen Monroe has completed 66% of his passes for 10.6 yards per pass attempt with 12 rushing touchdowns. Auburn fell to 6-5 with their 31-10 home defeat to New Mexico State. Tigers rushed for 65 yards on 26 carries. They allowed 213 yards rushing to the Aggies with 201 passing yards on 28 attempts. Payne Thorne is questionable with a foot injury and was wearing a boot in practice on Monday. Backup Holden Garner is completing 44% of his passes with 7.4 yards per pass attempt. He has seen limited work in 3 games this season. Robbie Ashford is the third string who has completed about half his passes the past 2 seasons. Alabama 17th in the nation in defense by allowing 310 yards a game. Auburn's quarterback situation is the massive concern here. Player Alabama minus 14.5. Liberty and UTEP college football pick for Saturday. Liberty 11-0 with their 49-25 home victory to UMass. Flames rushed for 324 yards on 51 carries. They held UMass to 98 yards, but 293 yards passing on 41 attempts. Caden Salter 11 of 16 passing for 225 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 14 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. UTEP fell to 3-8, a 34-30 road defeat to Middle Tennessee State. Miners rushed for 89 yards on 31 carries. They allowed 185 yards rushing to the Blue Raiders with 242 passing yards on 35 attempts. UTEP had a -2 turnover margin. Gavin Hardison has missed 6 straight games with an arm injury, questionable here. Caden McConnell hit 24 of 41 passes for 364 yards and 2 touchdowns with a pick. He averaged 8.9 yards per pass attempt. Liberty is in the discussion for New Year's Bowl as an undefeated mid-major. They are 5th in total offense in the nation. Past 3 games, the Flames are averaging 48 points and 536 yards a game. UTEP at home putting just 17 points a game. You know, Liberty, they need those style points. Play here, Liberty minus 17. Georgia Southern and App State college football pick. This one here Saturday. Georgia Southern fell to 6-5 with their 20-17 home defeat to Old Dominion. Eagles rushed for 119 yards on 34 carries. They allowed 134 yards rushing to the Monarchs with 212 passing yards on 28 attempts. Davis Brin 20 of 35 passing for 235 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 6.7 yards per pass attempt. App State improved to 7-4, a 26-23 road overtime victory to James Madison. Mountaineers rushed for 48 yards on 27 attempts. They limited the Dukes at 1.9 yards per rush with 289 passing yards on 46 attempts. Joey Aguilar hit 28 of 46 passes for 318 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 6.9 yards per pass attempt. Georgia Southern has a 37th ranked offense by averaging 428 yards a game. They are a high volume passing team with a good 64% completion rate. App State is giving up 4.9 yards a carry. Eagles are putting up 29 points and 399 yards a game against a Sun Belt player, Georgia Southern, plus the 8.5. James Madison and Coastal Carolina college football pick. This one here on Saturday. James Madison here, they fell to 10-1 with their 26-23 home overtime defeat to App State. The Dukes rushed for 61 yards on 33 carries. They held the Mountaineers to 1.8 yards per rush with 318 passing yards on 46 attempts. Jordan McLeod 27 of 46 passing for 289 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 6.3 yards per pass attempt. They had a rushing touchdown. Coastal Carolina dropped to 7-4 after their 28-21 road defeat to Army. Chanticleers rushed for 105 yards on 15 carries. They allowed 365 yards rushing to the Black Knights with no passing yards on 2 attempts. Grayson McCall is doubtful with a concussion. He's missed the past 4 games. Ethan Vasco, 17 of 27 passing for 145 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 5.4 yards per pass attempt. Chanticleers have won 4 of 5 at home by averaging 35 points a game and holding opponents to 16 points and 338 yards. At home, they limit opposing quarterbacks at 53% completion rate. JMU on the road is giving up 22 points a game. Play here will be Coastal Carolina plus the 9. Arkansas State and Marshall college football pick for Saturday. All right, Arkansas State improved to 6-5 with their 77-31 home victory to Texas State. Redwoods rushed for 291 yards on 40 carries. They allowed 173 yards rushing to the Bobcats with 366 yards passing on 55 attempts. Arkansas State had a +4 turnover margin. Jalen Rayner completed 14 of 17 passes for 196 yards with 11.5 yards per pass attempt. Marshall sits at 5-6 after their 28-0 road defeat to South Alabama. The Thundering Herd rushed for 197 yards on 46 attempts. Marshall had a -2 turnover margin. Cole Pennington, 22 of 36 passing for 159 yards with 3 interceptions. He averaged 4.4 yards per pass attempt. Marshall quarterback situation is a concern. Red Wolves have covered 3 straight. Marshall has lost 6 of 7, failing to cover 7 of 8. Thundering Herd is giving up 4.7 yards per rush and inefficient in the passing game. Play here Arkansas State plus the 2.5. Virginia Tech and Virginia college football pick. This one here Saturday. Virginia Tech fell to 5-6, a 35-26 home defeat to NC State. Hokies rushed for 124 yards on 16 carries. They allowed 188 yards rushing to the Wolfpack with 220 yards passing on 27 attempts. Tyrone Drones, 17 of 30 passing for 225 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. He averaged 7.5 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 51 yards. Virginia improved to 3-8, a 30-27 home victory to Duke. Cavaliers rushed for 170 yards on 41 carries. They allowed 159 yards rushing to the Blue Devils with 27 yards passing on 45 attempts. Virginia had a +2 turnover margin. Tony Muskett has missed the past 2 games with a foot injury. Anthony Calandria, 21 of 30 passing for 278 yards with 3 touchdowns. He averaged 9.3 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 66 yards. Virginia Tech is a win away from bowl eligibility. Past 3 games, Virginia defense has given up 34 points and 458 yards a game. Hokies are running for 4.5 to carries, and the Cavs are giving up nearly 5 yards per rush. Virginia has also given up 62% completion rate to opposing quarterbacks. Play here Virginia Tech at -3. BYU versus Oklahoma State, that is, free college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. That BYU-Oklahoma game was not too long ago, but this is Oklahoma State they're facing here. All right, BYU fell to 5-6 with that, 34-21 home defeat last week to Oklahoma. Cougars rushed for 217 yards on 38 carries. They allowed 144 yards rushing to the Sooners with 224 passing yards on 30 attempts. BYU had a -3 turnover margin. Keenan Slovis has missed the past 3 games with an arm injury and is questionable. Jake Reslav, 15 of 26 passing for 173 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 6.7 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Oklahoma State is 8-3 after their 43-30 road win in Houston. Cowboys rushed for 153 yards on 35 carries. They surrendered 130 yards rushing to the Cougars with 263 yards passing on 30 attempts. Alan Bowman hit 29 of 43 passing for 348 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 8.1 yards per pass attempt. BYU is really struggling to score points in conference there. In their past 3 games, they've averaging 13 points a game. Cowboys over this period averaging 24 points a game. BYU really struggling running the football, and also with quarterback efficiency, there are troubles there. Cougars are inefficient in the passing game. Oklahoma State struggles with quarterback accuracy, pass efficiency as well. Play here BYU and Oklahoma State under 56.5. Wisconsin and Minnesota college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Wisconsin improved to 6-5 with their 24-17 home victory, overtime victory to Nebraska. The Badgers rushed for 156 yards on 40 carries. They allowed 195 yards rushing to the Cornhuskers with 169 passing yards on 24 attempts. Tanner Mordecai, 18 of 28 passing for 160 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 5.7 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 51 yards. Minnesota fell to 5-6, a 37-3 road defeat to Ohio State. Golden Gophers rushed for 70 yards on 29 attempts. They allowed 215 yards rushing to the Buckeyes with 219 passing yards on 32 attempts. Minnesota had a -2 turnover margin. Ethan Kalkmanis, 11 of 19 passing for 89 yards and an interception. He averaged 4.7 yards per pass attempt. The Badgers have the better quarterback. Minnesota is allowing 4.6 yards to carry on the ground. Golden Gophers, 124th in the nation in quarterback accuracy, 52% completion rate. Wisconsin, 36th in total defense, allowing 3.8 yards per rush, and terrific in defending the pass. Play here, Wisconsin minus the 2.5. Northwestern versus Illinois college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Northwestern improved to 6-5, a 23-15 home victory to Purdue. Wildcats rushed for 99 yards on 34 carries. They allowed 303 yards rushing to the Boilermakers with 140 passing yards on 23 attempts. Northwestern had a +3 turnover margin. Ben Bryant, 13 of 24 passing for 230 yards with a touchdown and interception. Illinois fell to 5-6, a 15-13 road defeat to Iowa. Final Illini rushed for 67 yards on 22 carries. They held the Hawkeyes to 3.3 yards per carry with 167 passing yards on 29 attempts. John Paddock, 22 of 47 passes for 215 yards. He averaged 4.6 yards per pass attempt. Past 3 games, the Wildcats are holding teams to under 12 points a game. Illinois poorly runs this season, 3.8 yards a carry. Illinois past 3 games giving up 29 points a game. Wildcats have defended well on the road. Player will be on Northwestern at plus the 5.5. Maryland and Rutgers college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Maryland fell to 6-5 with their 31-24 home defeat to Michigan. Terrapins rushed for only 15 yards on 33 carries. They allowed 150 yards rushing to the Wolverines with 141 passing yards, 150 yards passing, 141 yards passing on 23 attempts. Maryland had a -2 turnover margin. Talia Tagovailoa, 21 of 31 passing for 247 yards and 2 interceptions. He averaged 8 yards per pass attempt and was sacked 4 times. Rutgers 6-5 after a 27-6 road defeat at Penn State. Scarlet Knights rushed for 99 yards on 42 carries. They allowed 234 yards rushing to the Nittany Lions with 88 passing yards on 14 attempts. Gavin Wimsatt, 10 of 16 passing for 130 yards and an interception. He averaged 8.1 yards per pass attempt. Rutgers sits 126th in the nation in total offense with 303 yards per game. They struggle with quarterback accuracy, sitting 133rd in the nation and with struggles with pass efficiency. Maryland holds teams to just 3.4 yards to carry on the ground. Scarlet Knights in their past 3 games average just 7 points a game. Play here, Maryland at a pick 'em. Vanderbilt and Tennessee college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Vanderbilt fell to 2-9 with their 47-6 road defeat to South Carolina. Commodores rushed for 130 yards on 42 carries. They allowed 136 yards rushing to the Gamecocks with 351 passing yards on 36 attempts. Ken Seals, 13 of 28 passing for 104 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 3.7 yards per pass attempt. Tennessee fell to 7-4, a 38-10 home defeat to Georgia. Volunteers rushed for 130 yards on 25 carries. They allowed 156 yards rushing to the Bulldogs with 316 passing yards on 31 attempts. Joe Milton, 17 of 30 passing for 147 yards with 4.9 yards per pass attempt. Past 3 games, the Commodores averaging 9.3 points a game. At home, the Vols are putting up 34 points at 450 yards a game. Commodores rushed for 3.3 yards a carry and sit 117th in the nation in quarterback accuracy. Vanderbilt defense 123rd in the nation by allowing 440 yards a game. Play here Tennessee minus the 27. Arizona versus Arizona State. College football pick. This one here Saturday. Arizona improved to 8-3. A 42-18 home victory to Utah. Wildcats, they rushed for 118 yards on 24 carries. They surrendered 118 yards rushing to the Utes with 320 passing yards on 53 attempts. Arizona had a +2 turnover margin. Noah Fifita, 22 of 30 passing for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 8.4 yards per pass attempt. Arizona State dropped to 3-8. A 49-13 home defeat to Oregon. Sun Devils rushed for 111 yards on 18 carries. They allowed 140 yards rushing to the Ducks with 463 passing yards on 36 attempts. Trenton Bourget, 20 of 37 passes for 142 yards with a season low 3.8 yards per pass attempt. Past 3 games, the Sun Devils averaging 11 points and 216 yards a game. They have limited big plays in the passing game. ASU offense struggles running the football and inefficient in the passing game. Play here Arizona and Arizona State under 49.5. Jacksonville State and New Mexico State college football pick. This one here Saturday. Jacksonville State improved to 8-3 with their 56-17 home victory at Louisiana Tech. Gamecocks rushed for 522 yards on 60 carries. They held the Bulldogs to 1.8 yards per rush with 225 yards passing on 46 attempts. Zion Webb, 6 of 17 passes for 160 yards. He averaged 6.2 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 122 yards and 3 touchdowns. New Mexico State improved to 9-3, a 31-10 road victory at Auburn. Aggies rushed for 213 yards on 37 carries. They held the Tigers 2.5 yards per rush with 148 yards passing on 19 attempts. Diego Pavia, 19 of 28 passes for 201 yards with 3 touchdowns. He averaged 7.2 yards per pass attempt. The Gamecocks defend well and hold opponents to 2.7 yards a carry. They also hold opposing quarterbacks to 58% completion rate. Jacksonville State is a high-volume running team which will drain clock. Aggies have defended well this year. Play here Jacksonville State and New Mexico State under 50.5. Washington State and Washington College. A football pick, this one here on Saturday. Washington State improved to 5-6, a 56-14 home victory at Colorado. Cougars rushed for 127 yards on 32 carries. They allowed 2.3 yards per rush to the Buffaloes with 164 yards passing on 27 attempts. Cameron Ward, 18 of 30 passing for 288 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 9.6 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 2 touchdowns. Washington moved 11-0, a 22-20 road win at Oregon State. Huskies rushed for 110 yards on 25 carries. They allowed 148 yards rushing to the Beavers with 169 yards passing on 33 attempts. Washington had a +2 turnover margin. Michael Penix, 13 of 28 passing for 162 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 5.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for a touchdown. Cougars are defending well as in their past 3 games, allowing 22 points and 266 yards a game. At home, the Huskies hold teams to 21 points a game. Washington State rushes for only 3 yards a carry. Washington has done a good job in pass defense. Play here Washington State and Washington under 68. Florida State and Florida college football pick. This one here Saturday. Florida State is 11-0 after their 58-13 home victory at FCS North Alabama. The Seminoles are 18th ranked offense in college football behind 4.9 yards per rush and efficiency in the passing game. On defense, they hold teams to 4 yards a carry on the ground and hold opposing quarterbacks to just 47% completion rate. That is the lowest of any team in the nation. Quarterback Jordan Travis is out due to injury. Tate Runemaker has seen limited work in the past 4 seasons. This season, he's completed 64% of his passes with 5 touchdowns and 12 yards per pass attempt. Florida fell to 5-6, a 33-31 road defeat to Missouri. The Gators rushed for 261 yards on 40 attempts. They allowed 177 yards rushing to the Tigers with 331 yards passing on 35 attempts. Florida had a -2 turnover margin. Correct. Graham Mertz is out with a broken collarbone. Max Brown gets the start, and the redshirt freshman has seen limited work in 3 games where he threw a pass. Last week, he went 4 of 5 for 56 yards and 11 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 42 yards. But Florida has won 4 of 5 at home with really improved, the better defensive play in their home stadium, no doubt. The Gators are rushing for 5.2 yards a carry at home. I think this is a tough spot for a backup to get a start in on the road in this environment. Florida needs a win to become bowl eligible, so expect the Gators to be very competitive here. The Seminoles have failed to cover 3 straight. Play here will be Florida plus 6.5. Notre Dame versus Stanford college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. Look at this game on Pac-12 Network. I don't think Notre Dame's ever been on the Pac-10 Network. Wow, that's wild to see a game there. This Notre Dame on that channel. Notre Dame improved to 8-3 after their 45-7 home victory to Notre Dame. Fine Irish rushed for 137 yards on 30 carries. They allowed 134 yards rushing to the Demon Deacons with 98 yards passing on 21 attempts. Sam Hartman, 21-29 passing for 277 yards and 4 touchdowns. He averaged 9.6 yards per pass attempt. Stanford fell to 3-8, a 27-15 home defeat to California. Cardinal rushed for 101 yards on 24 carries. They allowed 161 yards rushing to the Golden Bears with 296 yards passing on 37 attempts. Ashton Daniels, 18-35 passing for 108 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 5.4 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 67 yards. At home, Stanford allows 34 points and 455 yards a game. Fine Irish in this period put up 42 points and 439 yards a game. The Cardinal, 130th ranked defense in college football. They're giving up 456 yards a game with big plays in the passing game. The Fine Irish runs for 5 yards a carry, makes big plays in the passing game. Behind the experience of Hartman, player Notre Dame Stanford over 51.5. South Alabama and Texas State college football pick. This one Saturday. South Alabama improved to 6-5 with their 28-0 home victory to Marshall. Jaguars rushed for 197 yards on 46 carries. They held the Thundering Herd at 2.1 yards per rush with 159 yards passing on 36 attempts. South Alabama had a +2 turnover margin. Carter Bradley, 17-23 passing for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 7.7 yards per pass attempt. Texas State fell to 6-5, a 77-31 road defeat at Arkansas State. Bobcats rushed for 173 yards on 38 attempts. They surrendered 291 yards rushing to the Redwoods with 196 passing yards on 17 attempts. Texas State had a -4 turnover margin. TJ Finley, 37-55 passing for 366 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 6.7 yards per pass attempt. Texas State has failed to cover 5 of 6 and has an 18-point home loss to Troy in there. The Jaguars run the ball well, and the Bobcats' rush defense has really struggled over the past 3 games. Texas State does give up big plays in the passing game, and the Jaguars are getting accurate quarterback play at 67% completion rate. Play here, South Alabama, -6. West Virginia and Baylor college football pick. This one here on Saturday. All right, West Virginia improved to 7-4, a 42-21 home victory of Cincinnati. Mountaineers rushed for 424 yards on 46 attempts. They allowed 141 yards rushing to the Bearcats with 191 yards passing on 27 attempts. Garrett Green, 12 of 19 passing for 210 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 11 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 154 yards and 3 touchdowns. Baylor fell to 3-8, a 42-17 road defeat to TCU. Bears rushed for 148 yards on 40 carries. They allowed 3.3 yards per carry to the Horned Frogs with 431 yards passing on 33 attempts. Sawyer Robertson will be in for Blake Shapen, who is out with a concussion. Robertson has this season is completing 50% of his passes with 6.6 yards per pass attempt. He threw one touchdown with 4 interceptions. Baylor rushed for only 3.3 yards a carry and has quarterback issues with accuracy as they start to back up here. WVU holds opposing quarterbacks a 58% completion rate. Mountaineers rush for 5.1 yards a carry. The Bears giving up nearly 5 yards a carry to opponents. West Virginia has quarterback accuracy issues as well, so expect high volume of rushing, which will drain clock play here. West Virginia, Baylor, under 54.5. Clemson and South Carolina college football pick. This one here Saturday. Clemson improved to 7-4 with their 31-20 home victory in North Carolina. Tigers rushed for 247 yards on 55 carries. Kate Klubnik, 21-32 passing for 219 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6.8 yards per pass attempt and rush for a touchdown. They are banged up in the receiver position. South Carolina 5-6, a 17-14 home victory to Kentucky. Gamecocks rushed for 50 yards on 33 carries. They surrendered 122 yards rushing to the Wildcats with 171 yards passing on 34 attempts. South Carolina had a +3 turnover margin. Spencer Rattler, 19-27 passing for 207 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 7.7 yards per pass attempt. The Gamecocks 1 win away from bowl eligibility. They've won 3 straight by holding teams to 16 points and 316 yards a game. Clemson struggles with efficiency in the passing game. The Gamecocks get an accurate quarterback play, 70% completion rate, which is 8th in the nation. Clemson 1-3 straight up and to the spread on the road, averaging just over 18 points a game and only 3.4 yards a carry on the ground. Play here South Carolina at +7.5. Kansas and Cincinnati college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. Kansas fell to 7-4 with their 31-27 home defeat to Kansas State. Jayhawks rushed for 234 yards on 41 carries. They allowed 166 yards rushing to the Wildcats with 165 yards passing on 24 attempts. Jane Daniels missed the past 7 games with that back injury and is questionable here. Jason Bean expected to play after coming off a concussion. Bean is completing nearly 60% of his passes with 9.3 yards per pass attempt. He has 10 touchdowns and 4 interceptions this season. Cincinnati drops to 3-8 with their 42-21 road defeat to West Virginia. Bearcats rushed for 141 yards on 31 carries. They allowed 424 yards rushing in the game to the Mountaineers with 210 yards passing on 19 attempts. Emory Jones, 14-24 passing for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 6.9 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 644 yards and a touchdown. Cincinnati has struggled against the Big 12 teams from seasons past as they move over from the AAC. Bearcats have lost 7 of 8 in conference as they allow 5 yards per rush and big plays in the passing game. Kansas is running for 5.3 yards a carry and is getting accurate quarterback play with efficiency in the passing game. Play here Kansas -7. Charlotte and South Florida college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. Charlotte fell to 3-8 with their 28-7 home defeat to Rice. 49ers rushed for 84 yards on 31 carries. They allowed 240 yards rushing to the Owls with 140 passing yards on 21 carries. Charlotte had a +2 turnover margin. Jalen Jones suffered a concussion last weekend, is questionable. Trexler Ivy, 8 of 19 passing last week, or 51 yards and only 2.7 yards per pass attempt. USF drops to 5-6 with their 49-21 road defeat to UTSA. Bulls rushed for 140 yards on 39 carries. They allowed 224 yards rushing to the Roadrunners with 419 passing yards on 47 attempts. USF had a -2 turnover margin. Byron Brown, 23 of 39 passing for 287 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 7.4 yards per pass attempt. He rushed for 43 yards and a touchdown. Charlotte, 120th in total offense, averaging 314 yards a game. They struggle on the ground and with quarterback accuracy. The 49ers are inefficient with their passing game. On the road, 49ers average just 17 points a game. South Florida, 1 win away from bowl eligibility, so there's motivation here to defend. Play here Charlotte and USF under 57. Georgia and Georgia Tech college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. Georgia is 11-0 after their 38-10 road win at Tennessee. Bulldogs rushed for 156 yards on 40 carries. They allowed 130 yards rushing to the Volunteers with 147 yards passing on 30 attempts. Carson Beck, 24 of 30 passing for 298 yards with 3 touchdowns. He averaged 9.9 yards per pass attempt. Georgia Tech moved to 6-5, a 31-22 home victory to Syracuse. Yellow Jackets rushed for 206 yards on 37 carries. They allowed 206 yards rushing to the Orange with 53 passing yards on 16 attempts. Haynes King, 16 of 20 passed for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had a pick. He averaged 6.9 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 82 yards and a touchdown. Georgia Tech is a poor defensive team, sitting 119th in the nation. They allow 5.3 yards per rush, 61% completion rate, and big plays in the passing game. Georgia is 4th in total offense, 9th in total defense. Bulldogs have shown dominance in recent games. Play here Georgia minus 24. Iowa State and Kansas State college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Iowa State fell to 6-5 with their 26-15 home defeat to Texas. Cyclones rushed for 9 yards. They allowed 123 yards rushing to the Longhorns with 281 yards passing on 33 attempts. Rocco Beck, 24 of 32 passing for 323 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 10 yards per pass attempt. Kansas State improved to 8-3, a 31-27 road win in Kansas. Wildcats gained 166 yards on the ground. They surrendered 234 yards rushing to the Jayhawks with 162 passing yards on 16 attempts. Kansas State had a +2 turnover margin. Will Howard, 13 of 24 passes for 165 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 6.9 yards per pass attempt and rushed for a touchdown. Iowa State on the road holding teams to 20 points and 326 yards a game. Past 3 games, the Wildcats are allowing 402 yards a game. Kansas State was eliminated from the Big 12 championship game with that Texas win. On Friday, play here Iowa State +10. North Carolina and NC State college football pick. This one here on Saturday. North Carolina fell to 8-3 with their 31-20 road defeat at Clemson. Tar Heels rushed for 248 yards on 32 carries. They allowed 247 yards rushing to the Tigers with 219 passing yards on 34 attempts. North Carolina had 3 turnovers, took 2 away from the Tigers. Drake May, 16 of 36 passes for 209 yards with a touchdown and pick. He averaged 5.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 67 yards. NC State improved to 8-3, a 35-28 road victory at Virginia Tech. Wolfpack rushed for 188 yards on 47 carries. They allowed 124 yards rushing to the Hokies with 225 passing yards on 30 attempts. Brennan Armstrong went 18 of 26 passes for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 7.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Past 3 games, Tar Heels are averaging 530 yards and 42 points a game. They possess the 3rd best offense in college football with accuracy at the quarterback position and efficiency in the passing game. NC State, poor offensive team, poor accuracy at quarterback, and inefficient in the passing game. Armstrong, a bit too inconsistent to back. Play here North Carolina in this one at North Carolina -2.5. Wyoming versus Nevada college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Wyoming improved to 7-4 with their 42-9 home victory at Hawai'i. Cowboys rushed for 153 yards on 33 carries. They limited the Warriors to 2 yards per rush with 278 yards passing on 44 attempts. Andrew Peasley completed 14 of 17 passes for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. He averaged 18.8 yards per pass attempt. Nevada sits at 2-9 with their 30-20 road defeat at Colorado State. Wolfpack rushed for 133 yards. They allowed 169 yards rushing to the Rams with 245 yards passing on 31 attempts. A.J. Bianco, doubtful, is not expected to play. Redshirt freshman Brendan Lewis is expected to start. He goes 8 of 24 last week for 164 yards. He averaged 7 yards per pass attempt. He also rushed for 61 yards and a touchdown. Wyoming 0-4 straight up on the road this year. They put up just 14 points a game. and 255 yards away from home. Cowboys defense allows 33 points and 393 yards per game here on the road. Player will be Nevada plus the 11. Fresno State and San Diego State college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Fresno State fell to 8-3 with their 25-17 home defeat to New Mexico. Bulldogs rushed for 47 yards on 22 carries. They allowed 345 yards rushing to the Lobos with 183 yards passing on 21 attempts. Mikey Keene is expected to play. He went 8 of 13 last week for 58 yards. He averaged 4.5 yards per pass attempt. San Diego State drops at 3-8 with their 24-13 road defeat at San Jose State. The Aztecs rushed for 183 yards on 41 carries. They allowed 181 yards rushing to the Spartans with 174 passing yards on 20 attempts. Jalen Maiden, 15 of 24 passing for 117 yards and 2 interceptions. He averaged 4.9 yards per pass attempt. San Diego State offense struggled again this season as they're averaging 315 yards a game against the Mountain West. They are 1-6 straight up in the conference. Fresno State has put up 28 points and 366 yards a game on the road. San Diego State defense a major drop-off this year by sitting 108th in the nation by allowing 412 yards a game. Play here Fresno State -5. California versus UCLA college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Cal improved to 5-6 with a 27-15 road win at Stanford. Golden Bears rushed for 161 yards on 47 carries. They held the Cardinal to 4.1 yards per rush with 188 yards passing in the game on 35 attempts. Fernando Mendoza, 24-36 passing for 294 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 8.2 yards per pass attempt. UCLA 7-4 after a 38-20 road win at USC. Bruins rushed for 199 yards on 45 carries. They held the Trojans to 3 yards rushing with 384 yards passing on 44 attempts. UCLA had a +3 turnover margin. Ethan Garbers, 18-31 passing for 155 yards and 3 touchdowns. He averaged just 5 yards per pass attempt. Mendoza's form has been outstanding. Past 3 games, Cal is averaging 29 points a game. Bruins in this period put up 18 points and 309 yards per game on the offensive side. Bruins have failed to cover 3 straight as a favorite. Golden Bears are 1 win away from bowl eligibility, so plenty of motivation here. Play here Cal at +9.5. Colorado State and Hawaii college football pick. This one here on Saturday. Colorado State improved to 5-6 with their 30-20 home victory in Nevada. Rams rushed for 169 yards on 34 carries. They allowed 133 yards rushing to the Wolfpack with 194 yards passing on 30 attempts. Braden Fowler Nicolosi, 15-30 passing for 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He averaged 8.2 yards per pass attempt. Hawaii fell to 4-8, a 42-9 road defeat at Wyoming. Warriors rushed for 67 yards on 34 carries. They allowed 13 yards rushing to the Cowboys with 319 passing yards on 17 attempts. Braden Shager hit 25 of 44 passes for 278 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 6.3 yards per pass attempt. Colorado 1-4 straight up on the road by allowing 32 points and 462 yards a game. The Rams are allowing 72% completion rate, which is 133rd and worst in the nation. The Warriors are a high-volume pass team that can exploit the Rams' pass defense. Play here Hawaii at +5.5. All right, that was our college football pick show here for Saturday's action. Got you all 49 games. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have free college football picks updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports. Making it a great time to subscribe. And also, if you would, support our channel with that like, that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. And then visit our site, Tony'sPicks.com, for our best plays. Our premium picks are there. Use that promo code TonyT at checkout. It'll save that 20% off. You can access our page by finding the link in the description to get there. And remember, Tony'sPicks.com is brought to you by the Rhythm app. Great custom sports betting models right now with the Rhythm app. And you'll be able to claim your 14-day free trial when you open up that account and then download the app at the Apple, Google, and Android store. I have lots of free picks throughout the day and weekend. I'm Tony T. We'll talk to you guys later.